Welcome into the Wiltfong Whiparound with Steve Wiltfong. Today is Thursday, August 21st, and we have a big show lined up. But before we get going, you guys, it's been a big week for subscriptions, probably our biggest week of the off season, so I appreciate it. Everybody else, lock in, jump on board, and hit subscribe. Also, join Rivals today. If you sign up, you get a full year access to The Athletic, plus all the On3 national content from Steve Wiltfong, from Chad Simmons, from Pete Nakos. You also get all the fan site content as well. Great time to do it. Season's upon us. Let's go. I'll put the link in the description of this video. All right, let's bring in Steve Wiltfong. And Steve, we had a 5-star commitment on Tuesday, Savian Hyder. We've covered it a lot on this channel already. We covered it on your previous show. We've covered it on all my shows. Now, when it comes to Michigan recruiting, we are going to turn the focus to flip season. That being said, who would Michigan love to flip this upcoming season?
Well, I think their top target on the board as they go into the fall is Rivals #1 ranked cornerback Davon Benjamin, currently committed to Oregon. That is going to be a tough flip for the Wolverines, but I do think the Maize and Blue were the runner-up for Davon Benjamin. Oregon was his leader for basically his entire process, but Michigan gave him a lot to think about over visits in the spring and the summer, and they're going to continue to recruit Benjamin into the fall. I think Benjamin's having regular dialogue with Oregon. He's into the minutia of the Duck scheme. Regular contact with Tosh Lupoy, Chris Hampton and company, is very comfortable. A lot of love for Oregon, but communication continues with Michigan, and the Wolverines are going to be on the gas, full steam ahead for Davon Benjamin. They landed most of their top targets this cycle. That was one that got away. They're not going to give up. They'll continue to recruit the California Blue Chipper.
Yeah, another name that sticks out to me, especially if Bryce Underwood can live up to some of this hype, is Calvin Russell, the 5-star wide receiver that got away to Syracuse. I know Miami's not done recruiting him. I got to assume Michigan is not as well.
Well, I haven't heard much Michigan buzz as he being one of the targets that the Wolverines are still pushing for on the flip watch. But the Wolverines, look, there were people in his camp that thought he was going to commit to Michigan. His agency sent me a press release that we embargoed with quotes from Calvin, his family, and his agent on him committing to Michigan. That's how close it was down the stretch. But Syracuse is the program that did the best job of recruiting Calvin Russell from start to finish, felt close with Fran Brown, believes in the direction of the program for the Orange, the impact that he can have up there at Syracuse. And he did his own thing when he announced. He went in there and popped for Syracuse, and a new press release was sent an hour later with updated quotes. And obviously we had Marcus Benjamin on the ground. That was a wild, exciting night. That's what's fun about recruiting. Commitments like Calvin Russell, and he locked in with Syracuse. That's the program that he loved. No program did a better job. Michigan certainly pushed for him, gave him a lot to think about, similar to Davon Benjamin. Does Michigan want another wide receiver in this class? I think if an elite one presents itself, but cornerback, linebacker, and offensive line are the positions of focus and emphasis for Michigan going into the season.
Yeah, and well, that being said, who are some more specific names that Michigan is targeting at those positions?
Well, our colleague E.J. Holland has put out there that Nick Abrams, Georgia linebacker commit, is someone that Michigan will continue to pursue. I have intel that Michigan is in the mix for another touted linebacker right now that they're having dialogue with, committed elsewhere. So we'll see if that continues to get more legs. But I do think Michigan is in the middle of it for an unnamed linebacker right now that I think that they like a lot, that they are getting good feedback from. And we'll see what happens during the season as they continue to push for that young man. They only have one linebacker committed right now, Markel Dabney. They flipped him from SMU. Yep. They're going to look to flip somebody else, and they're going to try and do it early in the fall. So we'll see what happens.
DQ Forkbus, he's down at IMG Academy, and he was supposed to commit during the summer, but I think it was going to be to the Florida Gators if he did make that decision. But is he still on the radar for Michigan?
No, I don't think so. I think that one was coming down to Florida and Florida State anyways. Florida's still considered the heavy favorite. He's getting some things in line off the field, obviously transferred from IMG Academy to
Right.
Alabaster Thompson. So he's got some things in motion behind the scenes before he goes to make his college decision. But last I heard, Florida's still in strong position there. And Michigan is on the flip targets at the linebacker position.
Love it. All right. We talked so much about the top of this commit list for Michigan. So, Steve, who are some of the more underrated recruits on the commit list?
Well, Michigan, they've really recruited to their strengths this cycle, right? They're a team that's going to be physical around the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They want to run the football. That's their identity. So they have 3 of their top offensive line targets in the class committed, headlined by Malachi Lee, but going out there and winning out for Bear McWhorter, beating Alabama and company for him was a big recruiting win. Obviously, they have Savion Hyder, but where I'm going with this is the tight end position. Matt Ludwig and Mason Bonner committed to Michigan. That's arguably the top tight end duo headed to a school in the country. And Matt Ludwig was one of the most coveted players in the country. They beat Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Notre Dame specifically for Matt Ludwig. He's a top 10 player at the position. Not a lot of buzz around Mason Bonner, but let me tell you about Mason Bonner out of Denver Mullen. He's 6'6". He's 200 pounds, averaged nearly 18 points a game and over 10 rebounds per game on the hardwood, averaged nearly 20 yards per catch on the football field. He's big, long, explosive, very athletic. He is a guy that people aren't talking about enough in this class, and Michigan had him very high on the board. And so when you look at Michigan's tight end class, in addition to what they're bringing in on the defensive line with Carter Meadows, Julian Walker, Titan Davis, certainly Savion Hyder, these offensive linemen, their tight end room is going to be stacked for years to come. And Mason Bonner is a recruit in this Michigan class that people should be talking more about. When you look up in a couple seasons, if Mason Bonner's leading the Wolverines in receptions among the top tight ends in the country, don't be surprised, because he is 6'6", 200 pounds. He's still developing, but you can't coach athleticism. And he is an exciting player and someone that we'll be monitoring closely with the rival scouting team this fall.
All right, Michigan fans, talk to Steve and I. Who is your favorite player in this class? Not necessarily the highest ranked player, but who is your favorite commitment for Michigan in 2026? Let us know. Comment section below. All right, let's talk a little LSU recruiting. The Tigers are already emerging as a top contender for a bunch of the best players in the 2027 class. Steve, let's get into a little 5-star buzz when it comes to Tigers' 27 targets.
Well, that starts with Zyron Forstall. He's the number 3 player overall in the country. He's playing down at IMG Academy, but he's a Louisiana native. And when you've been covering this recruitment already, the 2 schools that you hear the most about are LSU and USC. USC in the mix because their defensive line coach, Eric Henderson, is also from the state of Louisiana. They got on him early, and Coach Henney does a fantastic job of building meaningful relationships with top targets. And then we know USC has the infrastructure to make things very interesting for the nation's best, but so does LSU. Frank Wilson leading the charge in this recruitment. Talked to Zyron Forstall about LSU this week, and he talked about just the culture of LSU and said there's nothing like coming out of the tunnel in Death Valley playing for your home state. But he really likes the coaching staff, how much they care for their players. LSU, one of the early front runners for Zyron Forstall. Same goes for 5-star receiver Easton Royal from in-state, scored 4 touchdowns in his scrimmage yesterday, Josh. LSU certainly one of the early favorites for Easton Royal. John Meredith, 5-star corner from Texas. He's a young man that LSU is certainly shooting their shot with. They'd like to get him to campus this fall as well. And he's excited about growing his relationship with the Tigers moving forward. LSU is the Rivals prediction machine favorite for number 1 ranked tight end Ahmad Hudson. He's from in-state Nebraska, coming on strong. And LSU, the early favorite for Albert Simeon, Rivals number 1 ranked interior offensive lineman, a top 10 player in our rankings. LSU is the program to watch, and his process as that starts to take off as well.
All right, and this week, the Tigers started trending for a familiar name at quarterback.
Yeah, Colton Nussmeier, the younger brother of Garrett Nussmeier. Sam Spiegelman and I predicted him to LSU, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, also prominent in this recruitment, but LSU, being around that program, seeing his brother blossom, knowing how they develop quarterbacks, the offense, the style of play, direction of the program, the type of games they play, and the magnitude of it all. We like where LSU stands. They're going to have to hold off Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, but we like LSU early on. Now, LSU is also in on a couple other quarterbacks. Peyton Houston, currently trending to USC on the Rivals prediction machine, but he's had some great visits to LSU. The Tigers are on the gas for him in state. And then local quarterback Elijah Haven, the Rivals industry's #1 ranked quarterback. Florida is trending on the Rivals prediction machine, but he's just 10 minutes down the road, could pop in at LSU anytime. The family has called offensive coordinator Joe Sloan more of like an uncle, cousin, brother type with that relationship, and there is a lot of excitement around LSU for him as well.
All right, so if and when LSU lands Colton Nussmeier, are they essentially conceding Elijah Haven to another program? Whiparound fans, listen up. We got to talk a little bit about Roback, because there is one way to describe Roback. It's best fit, best feel. And for those that aren't familiar with Roback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Roback has released my favorite with their new licensed Game Day collection. It'll be your favorite as well. They have great novel polo designs, a clean hoodie, and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools. It's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Now, Roback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable. I actually have them. They have an elastic waistband and great fabric it gives the appearance of a nice short look, but they have a much more comfortable feel for a day on the move. Now, Roback has been proudly leading the NIL charge as well, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars past and present, and they're becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to use promo code JOSH on Roback.com for a generous 20% off all new customers through the end of this week. So get on it. Here it is. Spell it RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with promo code JOSH.
Well, I think LSU's in the mix for several touted quarterbacks in the 2027 cycle, and it's first come, first serve. Who wants the ticket? Is it Nussmeier? Is it Peyton Houston? Is it Haven? They're in the lead pack for each of these prospects, and the way it's setting up right now, we like where they stand with Nussmeier, but we know recruiting can change on a dime. They continue to have dialogue with Houston. USC's trending, but look, as he continues to have dialogue with his family, does he want to stay closer to home? Does he get back around LSU and feel the juice and the energy of the Tigers program and the fan and the environment and the atmosphere? Same with Elijah Haven. So we'll see how this process continues to go. But right now, we like where they stand with Nussmeier, and they're certainly going to be evaluating junior tape, and more quarterbacks are going to emerge. And so we'll see if LSU goes all in on some other guys. But right now, Nussmeier looks like he could be the guy for LSU in this rising junior class.
Yeah. All right. LSU has well-deservedly earned the moniker of DBU, and that is a lot of it has to do with Corey Raymond's ability to develop top corners and safeties and put guys into the NFL. So when it comes to Corey Raymond's top targets, I always like to see who Corey Raymond's on early. So when it comes to DB targets in the 2027 class, who is Corey Raymond focusing in on?
And he's shown he can go national and land top guys now in this modern recruiting world. Obviously, we talked about John Meredith. How about Hayden Stepp, #3 corner in the country out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas? LSU recently offered. That was a dream offer for him. Talked to him this week about the Tigers, called it DB University and the opportunity and blessing, and to play for Corey Raymond, who's mentored so many greats in the NFL. They're going to be a major factor there. And they're a major factor for Ashton Ace Alston out of Cincinnati. He's going to be back at LSU for the Florida game on September 15th. The Tigers, one of the front runners for Alston right now as they battle Alabama, Tennessee, and Notre Dame, among others, for him.
Let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball real quick. Who is emerging as LSU's top targets at wide receiver?
Well, obviously, it starts with Easton Royal, the 5-star in-state who we talked about at the top of the segment. LSU very well positioned for him. He's expected to be at the Florida game. How about Manshan Sales from my neck of the woods, God's country, Indianapolis, out of Lawrence North. LSU's in the top 4 early for him with Alabama, Ohio State, and Michigan. He had a great visit in the spring. Loves that they play guys young. Loves the way that they had practice and the way that they developed that wide receiver position and how much emphasis is on it. LSU is one of the early favorites for Manshan Sales. They have a ton of in-state guys they're on, from Braylon Calais to St. Augustine teammates Miguel Whitley and Raekwon Williams. Hamilton Christian Academy's Javon Vittel Jr. LSU is going to sign one of the best receiver classes in 2027. Easton Royal and Manshan Sales, the top 2 targets right now.
Let's get some intel on the top 5 players in the 2028 class, because Rivals dropped the initial top 100 for 2028. Now we're talking about recruits that are entering their sophomore year. So at the end of their sophomore season, I'm told Charles Power and the boys are going to expand this to a top 300. But for now, we are focused in on the best of the best. Steve, let's start with Bryson Wright out of Mandarin High School over there in Jacksonville. He's 6'3.5", 210, entering his sophomore season at wide receiver. Who is in on Bryson Wright?
Well, the early frontrunners for Bryson Wright: Ohio State, Miami, Florida. He also has a keen eye on places like LSU and Texas. And you put his measurables out there, Josh, he's ready to play college football right now. He was maybe the most dominant wide receiver that we saw on the 7-on-7 circuit, regardless of grade. His ball skills are elite. His ability to go up and catch the football, create separation. He's got all the traits coveted at the position. He took a visit to Ohio State this summer. It blew him away. When I asked him who he looks up to, Jeremiah Smith was the first name he mentioned. Obviously, Ohio State's track record of development at receiver, the way that they prepare those guys to be instant impact players in the NFL, is what excites him most about the Buckeyes. The way they push their wide receivers, the competition in practice is going to be big for Bryson Wright. Who are the DBs I'm going to get to go up against each and every day? He knows that Ohio State recruits among the best in the secondary as well. I think it's early, but Ohio State setting the tone. Miami is another program where he's visited numerous times. They were first to offer. He feels at home at Miami amongst those players. The way that they brought him in made him feel like he's already part of the team. Certainly Miami's offense among the best in college football. Their receivers coach, Kevin Beard, does a good job developing guys and also building relationships. So the Hurricanes right there for Bryson Wright. Florida has been rising. He wants to get to a Texas game. His teammate Jamie French signed with Texas in this past class. And then LSU, the history of wide receivers. Those are the programs to watch early for Bryson Wright, who is as talented a player as there is in high school football going into the season, regardless of grade.
All right, let's head down the coast of Florida about 2 hours, where we get the top quarterback in the state, Champ Mons, 6'2.5", 219 pounds. He goes to Vero Beach High School. Steve, who is in early on Mons?
Well, he told me the schools that have his attention early in his process are Ohio State, Florida, Tennessee, and LSU. He's been able to visit those campuses. When you talk about the Buckeyes at LSU, the way that they develop quarterbacks, the style of play, the Heisman Trophy winners, the NFL draft success, those two programs, it's obvious why they stick out. At Tennessee, felt like family when he was on the Vols campus. Just loved the vibe and environment around Josh Heupel in that program. And then again, certainly the success that they've had offensively, the opportunity to help get Tennessee back to the mountaintop. The Vols are in the thick of that one. And then Florida, they've compared him to DJ Lagway, the opportunity to come in there after Lagway and see the blueprint, right? Those were his words, that Florida has shown him how they're bringing DJ Lagway along, and that's exciting for him. But look, there's several other programs in the mix for Champ Mons as well. This is a young man. His grandfather played in the NFL, was an All-American at Nebraska. His uncle, defensive lineman in the NFL. His father played in the Atlanta Braves organization, was on the Braves 40-man roster. So he comes from a very athletic family that understands how this process works. And they've expressed to him, you just got to stay humble. And so this is a young man, in addition to his physical traits, 6'3", 210 pounds, can make all the throws, also mobile, had a really good freshman year for Vero Beach. He's got all the intangibles coveted at the position because of his family history, the way he's been raised. It's going to be an exciting recruitment. Buckeyes, LSU, Vols, and Gators setting the pace going into his sophomore campaign.
All right, let's head to California, where we have another top player, Gage Weddle. Name might sound familiar. He's out of San Diego, California. Listed as an athlete, Steve. What do you make of Weddle's early favorites?
Yeah, you want to talk about pedigree. He is the son of Eric Weddle, who's on his way to the NFL Hall of Fame, 5-time All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, now Gage Weddle's head football coach. Gage Weddle plays quarterback and plays safety. He doesn't know which one he wants to play on the next level. Charles Power and I were talking about his film. He is a high-level thrower of the football. He is still developing at that position, fine-tuning his game, but his upside at the quarterback position is exciting. And his father said that he's going to take another step under center this year. So he could potentially play quarterback on the next level. It's obvious he's got all the traits coveted to play safety, from the speed, quickness, physicality, football instincts, ability to read and react, come downhill and make a play. And then he's just got all the leadership traits. He's an alpha on the field, and his recruitment is just now starting to take off. Obviously, Utah and BYU are programs that are in the mix early. His dad starred at Utah. He's going to be at the Utah-UCLA game in LA to kick off the season. Oklahoma is coming on strong. He plans to be at the Oklahoma-Michigan game in week 2. They're going to get to USC for some games this fall. The Trojans are doing a good job recruiting Gage Weddle early. But when all's said and done, he's going to be one of the most coveted players in the country. It'll be interesting to see who else he develops relationships with, because this guy's film is awesome. He was a fantastic two-way player as a freshman, and he's going to take another big leap as a sophomore.
All right, at number 4, we got Amir Sears, the top corner in the class. He's 6'1", 160. As a sophomore, he's at West Broward High School. Steve, fill us in on his recruitment.
Yeah, so much buzz around this young man. Got a chance to talk to him at the Overtime OT7 finals in South Florida. And his presence, his ability to cover, change direction, reaction speed, makeup speed. This kid's a special young prospect, and there are some schools doing well early in his process, and that starts with the Miami Hurricanes. He's visited a couple times. It's close to home. This is as coveted a target for the Hurricanes as there is in 2028 with the Bryson Wrights of the world, and the opportunity for them to compete against each other in practice, I think, is exciting for both of them as they go through their process. So Amir Sears, he's high on Miami, really likes Georgia a lot as well. That's another program to watch in the recruitment of Amir Sears. How about Nebraska? The Cornhuskers are doing a great job with blue chippers in 2027 and 2028. They got Sears to campus this summer. They're a team to watch. And then he gave USF some love this week, said that Alex Golesh and company are in that early school list of who's impressing him. He's obviously going to be able to choose wherever he wants to go, but Miami, Georgia, Nebraska, and USF doing a nice job with him early.
All right, let's talk about the last player in this top 5 for 2028. That's Marcus Fakatu. Unbelievable size here for a sophomore, 6'7", 260 pounds, projected as a defensive lineman. He's out of California at Orange Lutheran.
Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State are the programs that he mentioned to me in the past week that are off and running in his recruitment. Certainly you expect USC and some others to become a factor, but those 3 right now are doing a great job, not only because of what they present on the field, but this is a young man looking for the total package of a college experience, academics, culture, environment, and he likes the vibes around Oregon, Notre Dame, and Ohio State at this point in his process.
All right, that is it for the top 5 of the top 100 for 2028. Go check out the full list up on Rivals right now.